everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Accommodation Show. This week, I'm joined by the wonderful Kim Fitzpatrick from Launched Host. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It is a real pleasure. We met when I was on my travels to Canada and the States. We had a chat. I think we met actually a few times, talking about business, talking about what we do. And one, I think you're an absolutely lovely person. Two, I really love what you're getting up to in the short-term rental space. So look, first off, thanks a lot for taking the time to come and join me and talk to our wonderful audience about what it is that you do and why it's such an interesting opportunity that you've created for yourself in the short-term rental space.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. It was a pleasure meeting you at your various conferences along your circuit. And I'm happy to talk to people about Launched Host and what we do. And that is basically getting short-term rental Airbnb Vrbo properties up and running for their owners and helping owners be more efficient when they are doing it themselves so that they're not blowing their timeline and their budget.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because it's sort of a space which I think that people really underappreciate is how much work and how much effort it actually is to set up a new property. And we were just talking before we got on that it takes many, many hours to get your property set up, to get it ready to actually launch.
Yes, that's correct. So when we come in and bring a team in to launch, we'll say a 4-bedroom property, it takes our team of professionals 250 hours total to get it up and running. And we consider ourselves pretty efficient. And I think a lot of people underestimate just the volume of the work that entails in setting it up.
So we're talking like if you're a full time, right? We're talking roughly around about 6 weeks, sorry, from start to finish to get things going, because there are a lot of different elements. And so what we're talking about right here, can you kind of quantify it as well? Are we talking about design work? Are we talking about what goes into actually? Let's start at the start. Let's go back to the start. What goes into setting up a property? And what I think I think a 4-bedroom home is okay, but I'd like to talk about the differences between maybe an apartment and a 4-bedroom home. But let's talk about the 4-bedroom home, and then we'll go to the apartment.
Wonderful. Yeah. So what we do is we are connected with owners and designers, and the designer creates a design plan, and the owner will purchase the furniture that the designer recommends. The designer says where the furniture goes, like in each room, and how much of everything you need. The owner purchases, we show up on site, and we set it all up. New owners will maybe not understand that the furniture doesn't come assembled. And I think that's one of the ways they go wrong is they're just shocked that bar stools have to be put together, that couches have to be put together. Every single thing that comes to the home generally has some assembly required. And if not assembly, certainly some lifting. And it takes a lot of time. So we work with the designer to get everything assembled and placed and perfectly organized. And we work with the owner to make sure all of the maintenance is taken care of, all of the safety, all of the guest readiness, and all of the tech. So there's a ton of moving parts, and we bring teams in to manage all of those parts.
Well, okay, you kind of you got me there because there's all the furniture that you need to set up, of course, and so you've got beds, couches, wardrobes, like you said, bar stools, pool tables, whatever you're going to have in there, hanging up a painting on the wall and making it straight, and it's kind of like setting up a whole new life in an apartment, right, or in a house. That I think a lot of people already have everything. It's they're moving, they've been building it for their entire lives, but here it's starting from scratch.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a pretty big undertaking. I mean, how many people love it when their friends ask you if you can help them move? Isn't that something you just kind of are like, I'm really busy? So this is what that is, but on just a massive scale, because you're not throwing stuff in a truck and unloading it, but you are opening boxes, assembling everything, washing everything, making it perfect for incoming guests. And the level is just astronomical.
And then, but what about sort of the rehab or the refurb, depending on which side of the world you're on, or renovation, where another side of the world. But if that part of it, do you take care of that? Is something that's something that you guys are interested in? Where does that come into the whole process?
We really like to have that taken care of before we get on site. Contractors are difficult to manage, as we all know. We have done some management of contractors, but we just love the short term relationship. We like to get in, get out, get on to the next project. And if people are doing some massive rehab, we really think it's probably best that they hire a general contractor that knows what they're doing, understands all of the different trades and how to schedule them. I think they're going to have a better experience with a general
Yeah.
contractor. And then when it's finished, we do a post construction clean, and that's when my crew can come in and start their work.
Gotcha. So can you kind of break it down for everybody? So let's say someone's brand new and so they've just bought their first property. Let's say the property 20 years old or 30 years old, 4 bedroom home, and now they've got the property. Someone said, "Hey, you should try to put it up as a short term rental." They're looking at it. It's at a beautiful beach location, so they've got all the other things going for them. But now they've got this property and they're trying to think in order of what it is that they need to do on the front end in terms of getting it ready and getting it set up. What are the different steps before you guys come in of things that they actually think about, and then run me through how sort of your part fits into the puzzle?
Yeah. So the first thing is you want to have a space plan. So you want to know the measurements of every room in the house so you can order the right size furniture for the space that you have, the right size rugs for the size of the room, all of that. You want to know the occupancy that you plan to accommodate for so that you can have enough linens and towels and kitchen supplies for the amount of people that you're going to have. You don't want one fork per person because we go through multiple forks in a day, right? And you don't want your guests having to wash all those dishes. So
Sure.
there's some math involved there that you want to take into account. And we won't go deep into it, but there is some math. And so you want to have all of those supplies. And then when you go to order the supplies, you have to figure out shipping and receiving. And this is generally to a home that you don't live at that is not in your neighborhood. So you have to coordinate how to receive all of the packages, or we know how that goes. It's like if you have it all shipped to the house, it sits on the porch. Who does what with it when it gets there? So we need to have a plan for that. And there's multiple options. My company has an option where we can do receiving, or if you have a local handyman or housekeeper or thoughtful neighbor, you can employ them to bring all the packages inside. But you want to keep good track on how many things got delivered, what the inventory is, so that everything you purchase, you end up with, that nothing goes missing.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got. So we're thinking about the floor plans. We're thinking about the size. So then we have to sort of start to order. We're gonna get our. So I guess before even any of that, we've got to figure out whether we're gonna do any rehab, refurbs. But I guess you're working with a designer at that point. So the designer is the first port of call.
I think it's really important to work with a designer and a general contractor to do any refurbishing. Ideally, our clients, what they might do is change some flooring, which is fairly simple. They will have the interior repainted so it starts fresh. That's also a really simple task. And they might change some plumbing fixtures and some lighting fixtures. And that's about average when people are buying a new short-term rental property, because in general they're trying to get it up to market as quick as possible to get the money back in their pocket. So if we spend 6-9 months tearing down and rebuilding a home, the budget gets a little wonky, the timeline gets a little wonky, we're missing bookings. So we want to be really careful with major renovation. That's not our typical client. Um, But when all of the
Yeah.
refresh or refurbish, whatever you guys use in Australia, is finished, we do a post construction
Renovation,
clean.
reno.
Reno. Okay, we use Reno too. Yeah. Um, you get it all cleaned and perfect, and then the boxes start showing up, and then we have a real good process for how we unbox and manage, so we're not tripping over things and we're not breaking things. Do you want me to go through our little process that we use?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the more information that people get, the better. Absolutely.
Great. Well, my past life is as a PE teacher. I don't know what you call it, a gym teacher in Australia, if that's the same. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Phys ed.
And
Yeah.
good, good. Well, I am also a two-sport college athlete and I have an exercise science degree. So that's my background. So we treat this as like this is game time. And how we do it is we know we're going to get sore from hauling heavy boxes, moving, lifting, shoving. And so we knock out all of the heavy lifting day one or into the early part of day two, so that when the muscle soreness hits, we're not still hauling boxes. So we're just going to tear through and we're going to get everything placed in rooms, all the big stuff. And then we have a staging area where we will stage art and any wall hangings and also all of the pillows. Those will be dealt with down the road. So day one, we're doing all the heavy lifting. Day two, we're setting out all the rugs. This is a huge one. And I hope your audience is hearing this. Put your rugs down first, because when you start building your king bed frame and you put your mattress on top, it's going to get heavy and it's going to take 3 or 4 people to lift that frame to shove that rug under it later. So do the rug first, and then it will start to relax and release its like rolled upness, and put the frame on the rug. So that's my tip. We do rugs first, then bed frames, then couches, things like that. And we build up from the bottom so that we're limiting how much heavy lifting we have to do. It takes a lot of time to go back and fix that mistake, and a lot more muscles than if you just do it right the first
Sure.
time. So um, heavy lifting, big furniture on day two. We also pre-wash all of the kitchen dishes, because when you pull them out of the box, they have a lot of like paper fiber on there that we don't
Yeah.
want our guests pouring coffee into cups that are
Happy
filled with
people.
fibers. So we pre-wash all of the dishes and we get them going in the kitchen. And then another big thing we do is we look at the weather before we determine when we're going to be assembling the outdoor furniture. We don't want to work in the heat of the day in the direct sunlight. We don't want to work in freezing cold temperatures. When the metal tools get really, really cold and your hands start to freeze, that's not very fun. So we try to plan in our week when we're going to do the outdoor furniture. And so in addition to weather, we also look at how chaotic it is in the house, and if we need to spread out and put people outside so everybody has a little more elbow room, we kind of manage it that way too. So that just comes with the layout of the house and how many people we have inside of it. um and then so we get big furniture, we get outdoor furniture, we move on and we have one day dedicated to putting holes in the wall. Once we've got all the furniture pretty much built, assembled, placed, then we start putting holes in the wall. And what I mean by that is all the art gets hung, all of the curtains and blinds, drapes, any window coverings are getting hung. We're hanging TVs. And we're doing all of that so we get kind of adept at we batch things. So it's like if we're going to put holes in the wall, we're going to get really efficient at it instead of doing holes one day and then back to
Sure.
furniture and back to
Yeah.
going back and forth all the time. So we get in those kind of mindsets. And then when we're sore and we're tired and we're grumpy towards the end of the week, then we work on pillows, and it's pillow day and everybody can just sit and we play with the fluffy pillows. We shove them in their encasements into their cases. We put all of the decor pillows. A lot of times there's an insert and a cover, and so we match them, place them, we throw them around the house, and it finally starts to feel like a home on pillow day. And then the final day is
Yeah.
just all of the zhuzhing and perfecting. We actually also, this is a real good tip, we save a day where we don't have anything planned. Because what happens is everything piles up, and like when you fix something, something else breaks, and so we need to have time and space for that. So our days, we do it this in 7 days. Our day 6 has no schedule. It's just figure out everything that broke along the way, repair it. Anything that we got like stopped up on is now getting fixed on day 6. Day 7, we clean up, zhuzh up, and then we get ready for photography and then hosting our first guest. So that's the whole nutshell of how we do it.
Wow. There you go. There's your business plan, folks. That's
Yes.
incredible. Wow. That's so much value.
So,
How many people
yeah.
for that kind of a setup?
The way I like to do it, because we work really hard. We're working unless we're eating or sleeping. And we don't go to play. There's not always a lot of time to do anything actually fun at these gorgeous, beautiful homes. Um, but we need to sleep really, really well so that we can work hard the next day. So I like to put one person per bedroom whenever I possibly can. Occasionally, a house with excess square footage will add 2 people per bedroom, as long as everybody at least gets their own bed. Because we are living on the property. That's the only way we can get
Gotcha.
that many hours of work done in that short of a time.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Cool. So then, if it's a two-bedroom apartment,
If it's a 2 bedroom, we would probably bring 2 people and maybe hire some local help, to do some of the heavy lifting, some of the moving. It's a lot easier to DIY smaller spaces because you don't need the larger teams. So a couple plus a little bit of local help
gotcha.
could probably take down a 2 bedroom apartment. Um, in a week, if they had a system and a plan going into it before the week started.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Um, Now, one of the other things that you mentioned before was the tech side of things. Is that something that you take care of? And what do we need to think? Like, even if you don't take care of it, have you thought about it? What do we need to think about in terms of technology?
That's a great question. A lot of people, if you don't have a tech setup, you feel a little blind um, when your guests arrive at your property. Do you know that they're there? Do you have cameras? Do you have locks that are Wi-Fi encoded so you can see, oh, they got in, good, I'm off duty for the night because I know they were able to enter with ease. So a lot of owners will have cameras. They will have Wi-Fi locks that we will install. We'll replace the old standard keyed lock with a Wi-Fi lock. And then they will also potentially have noise monitoring, like Minute or some of those. A lot of owners have StayFi, so we will install their StayFi for them, which collects emails and helps them get onto the internet. What else? Oh, we'll put all of their
Yeah.
TVs into guest mode so that when the guest checks in, they don't have to worry about logging in, logging out. They just set their dates, their stay dates. I'm getting here Saturday, I'm leaving Monday, and then they every time they turn on the TV, it's their programming, their Netflix or whatever they're watching.
Gotcha. Okay. Wi-Fi as well. Are you guys doing that part?
I don't know how it works in Australia, but what we do is they'll call the company and set up the Wi-Fi, and we will be there when the technician comes out. If they give us all of the stuff, the router and all of that, then we can do the setup ourselves. But oftentimes the owner will have done that.
What about the testing of the technology? So we're going through, we're setting everything up, and we have to think about so you install the StayFi, you install the TV, you install the codes, but then that links up to a property management system, and we need to make sure that everything is working. And also, there's a bit of a workflow as well that we have to think about. Are the text messages coming back and forth for the guests and everything like that? Is that something that comes under your purview? Or is that
So
something that the owner or the host needs to then look at?
In general, the owner is going to be self-managing or has hired a property manager. We are not continuing the management after we finish the setup. So a lot of times they'll check the cameras. We will talk back and forth with them about the angle that they want, what they want to see on their exterior cameras. And they'll check the locks, they'll make new codes, and so we can talk back and forth about that with them. But their listings and their software, their property management software, is something that they or their property manager is going to do. And we help in every way we can, but we don't generally take on the management after we leave. Occasionally we do, but not often.
Gotcha. Okay, and can you break down a little bit for me the sort of the real value proposition of your services? And let me give you a bit of context as to what I'm getting at. Is I think a lot of people, I mean, if you're a bigger business, you kind of just go, all right, cool, I just need to get this done. But even if you're an individual and you're like, hey, I need to save the money. And when you're a small business, you have to save the money, before getting a team to come in and you're willing to do those extra hours of labor. But can you give me a little bit of a run through what the math kind of looks like in terms of, all right, you've got the the mortgage, or you've got that part that you have to pay on an ongoing basis. You've got all those costs associated with the property, but you've also got the missed revenue opportunity, right? So one is it's costing you more, but two, you're not even making money. So as soon as the faster you can go, the faster you can start to capitalize your investment or your property. Have you done the math? Do you know what it kind of looks like in terms of what is the cost of a delay?
Yes, we have done that math, and owners have come back, and we have case studies showing the difference between when they tried to DIY it and they took months thinking they were going to do it quickly, but then all of a sudden all of the tasks build up, and they were like, "Oh, I forgot about," and all it just becomes overwhelming. So they have this overwhelming time, and like you said, they're paying their mortgage, they're paying their bills, and it's just that clock is just ticking, ticking, ticking. It's like a cash machine, and it's flowing out every single day that they're not getting renters in. And often they're up against major holidays, peak season, and things like that, where if they miss the boat, they miss the opportunity to get a lot of guests, to get reviews in quickly, and then they're into the slow season and everything just sludges to a stop. And it's so hard to overcome that when you open a property in the off season with not a lot of guests. So we do have a calculator that we offer people that they can plug in their travel costs, their mortgage costs, what they expect their nightly rate to be, what their
Oh wow.
occupancy should be, as far as like, I expect 60% occupancy in this place. And they can do the math and decide if it makes more sense for them to DIY, assuming they have the skills and the time that they can take from work, or if it is makes more sense for them to hire somebody out and just get it off their plate, and then they can make money at their W2 doing what they are very best at, and maybe they don't have to learn new skills like, how do I get this heavy thing up to the third floor, how do I twist a wrench over and over and over. Like, some people have never been more sore in all their life except for when they've DIY'd their own
Yeah.
install.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where if you've got the right tools as well, it makes your life a lot easier. If you've done it so many times, you kind of know what you're doing, so it does make the task, like you said, knowing to put down the rug first. And like for a lot of people, that'll be obvious, but there'll be obviously a million different things that you miss along the way that end up costing you a lot more time. Um, so look, that calculator, by the way, can I get a copy of it? How do people get the calculator?
Yes, I would love to send it to you. I'll send it to you when we're done recording, and then you can share it with anyone you'd like.
That would be awesome. Look, what else? What else are we missing? Is there any kind of bits and pieces that we're missing, or are there any top tips that you like to give people? So, if you were to give people the top three tips of things they should think about when they're setting up their property, what would they be?
Yeah, first of all, let's talk about people, and then I've got a product, and while I'm talking about those two, I'll think of a third. But the people, let's like really talk about our friends and
Gotcha.
our family and our spouses and potentially children. So I don't know everybody's circumstance, but almost all of us have some sort of family that we're going to try to like rope into this project if we're doing it ourselves. And we need to think about what it's like working with those people on a difficult task that is over multiple days. It's going to be at least a week. Let's not try to say it's going to be less than that because you're going to pile too much. It's going to get too stressful. And we all have families and we know how it goes with family. You can grate on each other's nerves really, really quickly, and everybody knows how to poke your buttons. So if they're getting frustrated, they're probably going to poke your buttons and you're going to snap. And I can't tell you how many people hire us to save their marriages because they've done it before and they realize that they almost got divorced over it. They argue, they fight, they decide they hate each other, they work in neutral corners, they don't want to see each other. And to me, that's kind of heartbreaking. And I hate that for people. I want you to have a strong, thriving marriage. And if that means you hire this out so that you don't hate your spouse, let's do that. Like, let's really look at the big picture. So that's one thing. How do you get along with your spouse when you are like under pressure of time and money and physical, like so much physical work? So if you're good with it, awesome. I love it. Do it yourself. If you're not, let's save your marriage. The other thing is kids. And I would say that like maybe 9 to 11-year-olds are the sweet spot for having kids that are helpful. If it's under that, we're going to have to add more hours onto it because you're going to be pulled off task to be doing all of the parenting things and keeping the kids entertained. And they do not love your property as much as you do. They just can't wrap their mind around why doing all this work makes any sense when there's a beach outside or a mountain or a lake and they want to go do the fun stuff that you promised at home, and now you've got them doing child labor. And teenagers can be really productive and helpful, or they can be teenagers. And you know yours better than I do,
Yeah.
but I used to teach middle and high school PE, so I'm very aware of how teenagers can be. And they can be a huge help or a huge just like frustration. And third is your
Yeah.
friends. If you tell your friends we're going to the beach house and we're going to install some stuff, they in their head are like, sure, I'll help you, but we're going to the bar, we're going to get a tan, and we're going to do all this stuff, and they are going to
Yeah.
expect to play. And so you need to budget time to play or your friends are going to hate you. So that's my people tip, is really pay attention to your people and make sure you're working so that this is positive for everybody, not just your free labor. um, and now my
I
product.
love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. My product is we love a few things, and some of those things are rug tape so that the rugs don't curl up and trip people. And I mean, you and I both know Justin Ford loves to get on people about their rugs and say how unsafe they are. So if you're going to use rugs, we like to tape them down. There's a lot of different rug tapes out there. Some are better than others, but we love rug tape to keep it all down and where you want it to be, and so that it doesn't move or slide under people's feet. We also use on metal to metal
Yeah.
screws where a metal screw goes into a metal receiver. We use Loctite Blue 242. That's the one we like. They have a lot of versions of Loctite, but we use Blue 242, and that way you will find that 6 months, a year later, all of your screws are still holding in the furniture. They're not wiggling loose, and your guests aren't saying that your kitchen chairs are wobbly, and you don't have to go in there every 6 months with your Allen wrench and retighten everything. So we use Loctite Blue 242. And that is a game changer, honestly.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so you're so for that tip there, you're just basically talking about because you mentioned product, right, when you got into that.
Yeah, so that's the product that I recommend to everybody. You're going to save yourself so much maintenance on the
Uh huh.
backside if you handle it at the beginning and build things really correctly and add little extra layers of reinforcement. And that's something that we always do because we
Yeah.
are short-term rental owners ourselves, and we understand that we don't want to be coming back to be doing maintenance when we can do prevention. And then I'm supposed to have a third
Gotcha.
genius miracle tip for everybody. And I think really it comes down to the scope of work and the time. So we put in, like, again, I say I was a two-sport college athlete. I also coached a ton. And so we had a game plan. Like, we had a scouting report, and we were like on a mission before the game ever starts. We know what the opponent looks like, and this house is your opponent. So you have to have your scouting report, you have to have your game plan, and you can't deviate from the plan a ton. You just have to stick to the plan, get it done, and stick to your timeline so that you can rent it and get money back in your pocket. And you can always go back. You're never finished. So you have to get to a point that's good enough so that you can get that money back. And then eventually you can go back and do another refresh, rehab, reno in the future, and do it little by little so that you can hit those peak dates. I think those are really, really important.
Yeah, you're incredible. There's so much value in all of these different tips and a lot of the bits and pieces that people don't think about. And I think that was really appealing to me when I first met you. I was like, oh my god, I never even thought about that. I never thought about this part. Oh wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. And even if you have done it a few times, to break it down at the level that you have, I think most people wouldn't do that, which is incredibly useful. The one thing I really like about what we've talked about today is, in my mind, everything comes down to two things. One is the numbers. So you can basically do the equations and you can figure out how much saving you can make, how much this is all going to cost. When you're getting into it, you're setting up a kind of a business, right? So you want to think about what those numbers are, and you can calculate it all beforehand and make some estimations as to how much time it's going to cost you and how long it will take you to do different bits and pieces. Um, which then kind of drives your decision making process towards whether you get someone in to help you or which parts you're going to need help with, or whether you just want someone like yourselves to come in and do it all for you. The other side of it is obviously the part that we didn't talk about that much is the emotional side. So, how much emotional turmoil is going to take to get you there and to get the property up and running. So, I completely understand that part as well. And so it really is, it is a very, very fascinating one. But look, Kim, we've come to the end of the episode. I want to wrap us up because I like to keep these a bit more concise so that people can get high value out of them in a short amount of time. First off, I want to thank you so much for spending the time coming and joining me. I know you're incredibly busy going out there and building things and doing TV shows and everything else. But what can we do for you, and what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Honestly, I'm on Facebook a ton. So if people wanted to find me on Facebook, it's my name, Kim Fitzpatrick. It's on the screen. So they can find me that way. And then I'm also on Instagram, but on Instagram, I'm under launched host. And you'll see me there that way as well. Those are super easy ways. I can drop my website is just simply launchedhost.com. And I need to work on the website. I know I have a broken video link. Hopefully by the time you see the website, you will not see the broken link. But that's my .com. And then through Facebook, you can book a call with me. And so that might be the easiest way. I have a calendar link so you can book a call, and I'd love to talk to people. And if you're deciding, like, I don't know really if I need to hire you or what do I need to do, I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call and share with people what I know and guide them in any way I can.
Beautiful. Well, you're absolutely wonderful, and I appreciate that. With the website, if you need some help, let me know. That's what we do, so I can help you with that. Folks, if you are tuned in on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. It does make a difference. It lets us keep doing what we're doing, and it means that we're giving you value. If you've had any piece of value out of this episode, make sure you subscribe, because 90% of this audience that are tuned in are not subscribed. So make sure that you do that. On the podcast, if you're listening to us, then leave us a review, leave us your feedback. If you found value from it, let us know as well. We've got the show notes below the episode, so you'll be able to jump in there and get those links and get that information. We'll see whether I can get you that calculator or not. Just have a look at the show notes. If they're in there, then great. If not, you'll need to reach out to Kim. Kim, thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Good luck on your travels to your next destination. And hopefully I'll see you later on in the year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take it easy. Have a good day.